Hey, it's Doom here from Dungeons and Doom Biscuit, one half of the Dungeon Swag team. If you're here, you're joining me for some mediocre quality video with low production value. Thanks for coming. I'm glad to be here too. I don't really have a good plan for today. I didn't really think too much ahead, so we could do a train or a monster. What's something easy to do? I don't know. I got an idea. I don't know if I have anything to use as a base for this. We might have to build it from scratch. Let me see if I have an old toy or something in my box here close to find. All right, here we go. This is some kind of Dollar Tree alien. I don't know. Oh, his head goes that way. I don't know what this is called or what this is. And I don't know if I really like his posture and pose. But this is from the Dollar Tree. And you can use any kind of toy for what we're about to do, I think, kind of easily. Maybe we don't need a toy. Let's get a base. Let's make it big. Let's make something awesome. Let's get a CD or DVD-ROM or what have you. And let's make something cool. I don't know what yet, but I will soon tell you when I figure it out. I got it. All right, let's get this thing, and let's get a piece of cardboard glued to it. You get a piece of cardboard? Ha ha! So, I have children, and we go through a lot of Pop-Tarts in this house. So I've got Pop-Tart boxes for days. And I don't even bring them all down here. That's the kicker. I bring like a third of them down, and I have a stack of Pop-Tart boxes. So what we want to do is we want to get that on there and kind of cut that out. Maybe that would be better. Yeah, something like that. All right. Let's get... Is my glue gun hot? This happened the other day with these cheap... I bought these at a flea market, or not flea market, we cook like a cheapy... a thrift shop. I was up for work. I was somewhere in PA, and I was on my way home, and I saw a thrift shop, and I stopped. I'm sure this is going to pop off like it did the other day, and I'm going to have to re-glue it. All right, so the other day this came off and I had to redo it. So let's just save ourselves the effort and do that immediately, because we know that's going to be a problem. We know this stuff has like this plastic coating, it just shreds right off. So let's get some of that peeled away. Let's get some more glue. All right, so here's what I'm thinking. The idea I have is that we can take this CD base and use it as a base of a fairly large, dangerous miniature. And this guy is not off the table. We can use him or some of his parts for sure, but I don't think that's what the main goal is. Any arms you have from any kind of figure you can steal for this project. Don't you think that you have to have anything special. You don't have to have a CD. You can use cardboard for your base or MDF or whatever you have. So what I want to do, okay, that seems pretty sturdy, is I want a mound of some sort in the middle here. So you can crunch up paper or whatever you have to make that mound. I'm kind of glancing around now to see what I have to make the general shape of that mound. I have a lot of broken styrofoam and used styrofoam pieces. So what I think I'm going to do is get these and kind of glue them together. And then you get that cutter thingy, Bob. You could do this with a knife. it makes a big mess. I'm telling you that. Or you can do it with the foam cutter, which still makes a big mess. I'm telling you that. Or you could rip it with your hands if you were really patient, and that would be nice. So all these are options you have. I'm using a foam cutter because for me it's a little easier, and I'm kind of used to using it and stuff. And these are $10 on Amazon. They're not an expensive toy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of shave this down into a little bit of a mound shape of some sort. Something like, let me get this on the base so we can kind of, okay. So now we can just kind of follow the edge of that and work it down slowly. Is this too hot or too cold? Oh, it's not hot enough. Okay, there we go. And we don't want it to be too tall, so let's cut some of that off. All right, now we have a base here we can kind of work with as a mound to represent our guy, our creature. It doesn't have to be a guy, it could be a gal, or it could be completely genderless. I mean, it's going to be a golem. So what I would like to make is a graveyard golem. I think what this would be is, this land has been corrupted with the stench of death for so long, and the remains of maybe an evil necromancer's work, or maybe a necromancer has risen this creature up, whatever it may be. But it's a creature solely based off the fact that a graveyard has stood up and come alive. So the main base of his body, I think, would be ideal to be something like that. And then we can even kind of build this up a little bit. But the whole thing is we want it to have like a congruous, like it's a mound of dirt. So for everything that we add, we're going to have to smooth it, okay? So we can probably do that pretty easy with like a piece of cloth or something, maybe. A baby wipe would be perfect, but my kids grew up and I don't have those anymore. Baby wipes were like the best crafting material back in the day for me, because I had tons of dry baby wipes, because like we'd put some in the car and forget about them and they'd be all like ruined. That was a good material, very good. But I have some tin foil from a project that didn't work out, and I think that's what I'm going to ultimately use to cover my base. Yes, I have projects that don't work out pretty regularly. Fortunately, I'm not filming most of the time when that happens. You guys have actually, if you've been watching along, you've actually been part of some of the failed projects that I was able to salvage in some form. And there's a couple times, okay, mostly just once for real, but one time I started recording a video and something happened and I just stopped recording and started over. It was so bad, I was like, what am I doing here? I just wasted a bunch of my time and everybody's. I'm not sharing this with the world. I did end up turning it into another project though, but I did not record it. I haven't been doing as many freestyle projects as usual because now that I have the channel, I feel like I'm obligated to share everything I make. And it makes it hard to just want to make something I want to make, especially if I've done something very similar to it. Like, how many cardboard box sci-fi buildings can you make? And people are like, oh, this is new. Or, oh, I got a new idea from this. No, I mean, it's just the same crap repeatedly, you know? And I don't want to be that dude. All right, let's get some more glue. So this is something that I didn't invent this. People do this. My mom did this when I was a kid. If you want to just get a glue stick on the back of your thing there to hold in place, oops, not like I did. But when this starts going in here and it's not grabbing well, you can just glue another glue stick on the back, and it you know what I mean? It's pretty good to do that. All right, so we have a mound here, and it's a little soft because it is made out of tin foil. So what we want to do to strengthen that up is we want to get some glue and just kind of drag it around and push some of the loose tin foil down. And this will start giving it more solid things and stuff. Oh, what would have been really cool is if we'd have done it like, well, that we could do a different video for that. It'll be similar though, so I don't know. The idea I just had in my head was making it like a building that was like important at one point in history and it wasn't anymore. And it, like, for whatever reason, psychic energies, ghosts, supernatural mumbo jumbo reason, it has come alive. Maybe to defend the magical treasures within or something, and the only way to deal with it is to kill it, and then it turns back into a building, or it's a pile of rubble that you can loot. I don't know. But that'd be a cool thing. You could do like a two-part thing. One, build like the part of the building that turns into that, like maybe the treasure room or whatever. And you could just lay that in the middle of like an open kind of dungeon setup. I don't know, man. I'm just having ideas. None of them are great. They're just ideas. You have the same kind, I'm sure. All right, so we have a little bit of a shape going here, right? And that burns. So this is the mound that's going to be our graveyard. So we're going to need some gravestones. I think the easiest way to do the gravestones would be like with cardboard or this foam from the Dollar Tree or whatever. So I'm just going to get a strip of that. And let's make a couple gravestones. So to make the gravestones, I'm just cutting... Oh, this knife is garbage. I'm just going to cut these, kind of round it off. They don't have to be perfect. Something like that. I'm going to cut off the end to make it like a little gravestone. And I'm going to take this plastic or paper off. Oh, darn you, paper. If you have this kind of pink foam, you can get a hot knife and cut it that way. If you don't, you can use this stuff and just use one of these alpha knives or whatever they're called. If you are really interested in not using a box cutter, you can just get cardboard and a pair of scissors and get a similar effect, I'm sure. So, but what I want to do now is I want to create the gravestones. And I want to just kind of get them around the base area. And we want them to be a little bit like, we move the glue around and get them a little bit so they're like, they look like they're in the ground some. So get some glue and just kind of jaggy around there and make it so when we put dirt on this base, it will cover it well. I feel like when we put dirt on this base, it's going to be an important part of this being successful. Alright, so let's make some more gravestones. And you can make your gravestones however you want. I'm going to do a lot of these rounded kind of ones, I think, is my plan. And then do some, maybe like to do like a wooden cross, maybe. That'd be alright. That'd be alright, yeah. Wooden cross. Alright, I'm in. And if you're peeling this off and you chip away some, like I have big nails because I didn't cut my nails, and you have like a couple little pieces that are ripped off, that's okay. I'm going to rip these off just to see how that looks on the gravestone when it's done. I don't like that edge there. Let's wrap that off. Okay, let's get our tin foil. Beat it all up. Just make our gravestones. Put it in there so come back around. Fill it in so it looks like it's sticking out of the dirt. And rough it up, you know. Let's do a wood one, and we could do that with a simple little bit of toothpick, maybe. Not toothpick, yeah, toothpick would work. But I was thinking a popsicle stick. I have some of these really thin tongue depressor kind of coffee stirrer ones I'm looking for. I can never find them. I'm looking. Oh, you bastard! Where are you? Here we go. Something like this. This is very tiny. This can make a good wooden cross if you want it to. And even though in my games there's no, like, generally no kind of real Christianity or anything, a cross is kind of an iconic symbol that people will recognize that it's a grave marker, and they won't, you know, it won't be like a big issue. They'll be, oh yeah, a grave marker. I see that. Oh, I see that. There we go. Stick that in the ground a little bit. Put a dab of glue here. Something like that. That might have been a fatal mistake using super glue when I've been using hot glue for everything else. Oh, that's sturdy already. All right, let's do like a kind of a square tombstone this time, maybe. Make it a little wider and shorter. Oh, I know what we could do. We can make it like a couple's gravestone. And we just want to kind of, this is not the sharp side. Just kind of push that in there and make a divot. So it looks like two different stones shoved together, or like it was designed that way. Take a couple chunks off of this here and there, just to make it look old and beat up. This is not a new graveyard. We don't want it to look like one. You don't have to put these all in the same elevation. Some can be higher, some can be lower. Probably having them look less uniform and less, you know, good would maybe be a better look. You don't want it to look too rehearsed, like this creature was planned to look that way. You want it to look like it just kind of raised up and this is what you got. I can't think of any kind of other tombstones. Well, you know what there is? There is like those pyre, like obelisk type deals. You can make something like that quickly. Let's get it kind of a square shape going. Okay, everything straight. Alright, square here. And the top part of these, they kind of go, so if you cut like that, like that, like that, and like that, it creates a little, like a deal. But mine isn't square enough, so I'm going to come back and snip some off to make it fixed. There we go. Something like that. And then we want to take some chunks of it, beat it up, twist it a little bit, bend it some, get our tin foil. Something like that. There we go. That's going to be exactly what we want, I think. It looks a little phallic, but that's okay. All right, so now we need to come up with like a how this thing is getting around kind of deal. Is it dragging itself? Is the whole mound moving? And we can implement these arms in that. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to snip this off. Let me get a better snipper so I don't tear those up. Ah, come on. We're just going to snip that part off. We're going to kind of shove that down at an angle to where it's pulling itself that way. And then we'll do the other arm. Kind of down here. I think what I'd like to do is cut this arm off. Kind of have it coming out down in here like that. And this is a smoothish surface. And I don't know how well it's going to take paint. So I'm just going to kind of hit it with this a little bit to make sure some paint will stick when we do the priming. Something like that. All right. Something like that coming out there. Push it into the soft material. And we're just going to do the same thing that we've been doing with the glue gun. Fill in the hole so it's coming out of the ground. Go around it. And there's this one. I think what I'd like to do is snip this off at an angle, if I can. No, that's harder to do than I thought it was going to be. Alright, we're just going to have to make that work. Something like that. Good thing we have a little dip there. That wasn't planned. It's kind of worked out. This is what happens when you don't have a plan. You could do this as a building or a graveyard or a pile of garbage or whatever you want to do, treasure even. So this same concept, I'm not going to make a bunch of these different minis of this, but the same concept you can use in many different ways. So as far as a face for this thing or his head for this thing, I think a skull, since it's a graveyard, would be ideal. Let's see what this might look. That doesn't look good. We'll save that for something else. Let me find a skull. Something kind of cartoony but serious at the same time. We got this fella. Let's see what we can do with this fella. We kind of want it to be, oh, that's hot, pushed in a little bit here, I guess. If we can cut the back of this off, that would be ideal. I don't know if I can get it in there. Ow. Yeah, that's probably not smart, Chris. Let's see what we can do with a butcher knife. Maybe. Alright, so this is just a cheap butcher knife that was from a set we aren't using anymore, and it wasn't nice. Damn you. Alright, so this is a bust. We're just going to have to find a way to implement this as part of the craft. Even though I wanted that skull cut off on the front. We're just going to have to make it part. Maybe a giant was buried in this graveyard, and this head is part of his deal. And if you're really unhappy with like something like how that goes, then just get some pieces of some foam and add it in as part of the structure to hide some of the seam, and let it dry as part of that. And I think that'll help you a good bit in this endeavor like that. Like maybe that's part of a crypt. If we do this a little bit more like a brick, we could do that. Throw a brick in there. Add these as additional tombstones that are half buried and stuff on here. I think that would help our look a little bit. And it would sturdy up some of these seams. Probably should prep those with tinfoil or something first, honestly. If you're using those, or just tear them apart with your fingers and give them some texture. But those are doing okay for what we want them to, for sure. So we got something like this going on. This mound of graves and dirt and death. And now we just got to kind of come around and clean up seams. And then we got to paint this thing with some dirt. Okay. I say paint with dirt. We're going to paint it with some Mod Podge and some glue and some paint. And then we're going to let that dry, and then we'll come back and paint it and see what it looks like. And you can go as far as you want with this. You can have horns on it and make it look more demonic. I think I'd like to actually do some more with the side of the skull over here where I think it looks kind of silly. I'd like it to come up on here, onto the skull. There we go. And when we paint this thing with the sand, we can have that dirt coming up onto that skull for sure, and that won't hurt us a bit. His back's a little flat right there, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this piece and kind of, I don't like that, get this little piece and just glue it to him, kind of bringing that part together. You know what, we have some bones here. Let's cut some of that apart and make that kind of part of it. So what I'm going to do is Just get some glue and drag that around with this part here. Get it in there real sturdy, and then drag it down so it sticks in place there. And you can tell that's, you know, like a bone piece. I'm going to do that in a couple other little spots too. Getting the glue good. Drag it around. Shove it in a little bit and get in place. We could take these big pieces of bones and do that too. You could probably just cut this off sharp. Whoops, terribly done. Shove it down in there at a different angle. With that super glue, let's get one of these legs. Just kind of make it sharp. See if we can just shove it down into the styrofoam. Give it some. A little bit of bone goes a long way on that. I think it looks good. Maybe we could. I don't know what we could really do. If I had some small skellies, I do. Hold on, I have some small skellies somewhere. They're not super small. They're like 54 millimeter. So like that'd be like the size of a size large miniature at that point. But I have some skellies that we could take maybe a part or two from. They all have like dumb hats and stuff, so I don't really use them for stuff. Lots of dumb skelly stuff going on here. No good skellies. Alright. I get glue under my fingernail. It's rather uncomfortable, if I'm going to be honest. Alright, what can we do with these dudes? Well, he's got some bone texture, but it's not very good. Maybe we can do something like this. No, that's way too big. Too big and too silly. Let's just snip off anything that's not hand. And just grab that at an angle. Snip, snip. Snip, snip, my dudes. And then let's have that kind of coming out the side over here. Too easy. And push that down. Get a little bit of glue on there to bring it. All right, so we're ready to start our next phase. Let's get our guy and take a look at him. It's not ideal. It's not beautiful for sure. Let's get some of that stuff fixed up. Fill some of the holes. There we go. That's stuck to his head. Let's get that off there. All right. Something like that. It's not great, not terrible. It works. So let's hit it with the lighter and get rid of our wispies. Where did I put the lighter? Oh, here it is. Here we go, something like that. Let's glue it onto a paint lid, if I can find one. I just had one literally before I started this video, and I was like, what am I doing with this? I tossed it somewhere. It's around. Here we go. So let's get this paint lid, and let's make a little spot for glue to stick decent. Something like that. Grab our dude. Put him on there so we have something to handle while we're working on him and painting on him. Okay. And then we want to get some Mod Podge and some glue and such. This is older, but it'll work. Let's get a brush, a crappy brush, a brush that you don't love. Let's get any wispies we missed. Perfect. Okay. So this could be, this isn't probably something you're going to have out as one of your main display pieces. This is probably going to be like a one-time encounter deal. Unless you want to use it later on and say, oh, it's a pile of garbage, or it's this, or it's that. But in general, something like this is going to be a one-time fight. You're not going to do this in every often. For me, I have an enormous cadaver collector we made, and it's enormous. It's like a size Colossus plus something. And it's not used very often. Maybe once a year I might pull it out just to scare everybody on the table who's getting confident that their characters are tough. Then I pull out this 8 or 9 inch tall, enormous creature. So the smart plan there would have been not to get paint on these bones, okay? But we did. So let's try to miss the future bones we're doing. Because what we want to do is we're just creating the dirt area for like the graveyard dirt, right? And I keep forgetting to buy dark gray spray paint. So that's going to be a problem too. So on these tombstones, I'm doing a pretty decent job of missing those. But don't forget, if you get a little bit on there, that's okay. Because the dirt and grass and stuff has grown up from the ground onto them and everything else. And this pink plastic or pink foam in this, I just realized is going to be a problem. So we're not going to be able to put the dirt on the way I wanted to. We're going to have to do it carefully and just sprinkle it in the spots where we want it, because all this foam would melt with the spray paint if I don't cover it now. So, lesson learned. We got a little pyre thing here, whatever you call this, obelisk. Let's get all the paint where we want it on these guys. Hands. Whoa. All right. So as we're getting this guy covered in dirt, the main thing we know we need to get around for sure is around the edges of the base here. Let's get this paint off to the side. I don't have my little board down here that I catched up on. Oh well. All right. And sand would make this heavy, and this is already pretty heavy. So I think what we're going to do, instead of using sand, is we're just going to use some flock. And I have a little scooper here we can use somewhere. Hi, scooper. Scooper. We're going to use this to be our dirt, even though it's not as good as sand. But we have so much, and we need a little bit of control where we're working here. And we are probably going to be coming back on this later with some more flock anyways, truth be told. So now, remember, the tombstones, you don't really want to get dirt on if you can avoid it. But you do want to get it on the arms. Give that some texture up around here where his head's wonky and I don't like it. Oops, that's too much. You want to get it down in the cracks here. Because you don't want this to be smooth, dry, Mod Podge, and paint. You want it to be, you know, like a graveyard. Dirt and crap, and maybe some stone or some smoother mud might be hanging out, but not a whole lot. So you want to catch this. Let's dump our extra flock back into the bin and take a look at them. Something like that will work. Now this is going to take a while to dry, so while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and pause, and then I'll come back and we'll make that a part 2 of the grave golem. I think we're going to call it a grave golem. Maybe a grave word. I like that word. W-E-R-D. W-E-R-D word. I don't know where I got that from. It might be something I can't use. Someone might have stolen that. Or, I mean, invented that and copyrighted it. It's just something I like. But anyways, here's what we have so far for our graveyard golem. So, thanks for watching. This has been Dungeons and Doom Biscuit. If you feel so inclined, hit the like and subscribe buttons. I think it helps. People tell me it helps. I don't know. I don't know what the secret to success is on YouTube. If you want to support the channel, we don't want money really. Buy miniatures from us. Go to the website. It'll be in the link in the description. Go to the Discord. Get a free miniature from us. If you're going to buy miniatures, use the discount code. Save 25% off your first month, please. No one seems to just wants to save money. They just want to, But use the code, save the money. And I'll see you in part 2. Thanks for watching.